I only paint stories.
Jon Van Zyle says he's just a storyteller with a paintbrush. Coming up on Frontiers, a portrait of an artist who has captured the magic of the Iditarod.
I love racing dogs. I honestly feel I was put on earth to race dogs.
An Iditarod champ returns to the trail. Why his passion for the race is stronger than ever. And the Arctic Winter Games, more than just a competition, but a time to celebrate life in the North. We take you to New Greenland.
Sponsorship for Frontiers with Rhonda McBride is provided by Koopa Corporation and Spinard Builders Supply. Alaska, where there are old triumphs, but also new frontiers, with challenges as great as the state itself, but a belief the best is yet to come, bringing you the faces, the places, and the spirit of the last frontier. This is Frontiers with Rhonda McBride.
Welcome to our program. Well, now that the Iditarod mushers have left the restart in Wasilla and are now chasing their own personal frontiers, it's a good time to reflect on one man's lifelong effort to preserve the spirit of the race with both his paintbrush and his passion for the dogs.
Come on, Grandma.
Jon Van Zyle and his wife, Jonna, don't run a team anymore. But the dogs are still a driving force in Jon's art.
They want to know about everything.
Any one of these guys might show up in the next Van Zyle painting.
I've been looking at muzzles and other portions forever, so. My favorite painting of thousands that I've done is the one I'm painting today. Period.
The result? About 80 paintings a year. Many are mental snapshots from Jon's early days of running the Iditarod.
This is the original for this year's poster.
Number 40.
Yeah.
Over the last 40 years, Jon has painted a poster for every Iditarod.
This is a dog team camping. Obviously the trail's ahead of them, and that's kind of nice too.
You won't find mushers with sponsors emblazoned on their gear. None of the modern day trappings of the Iditarod. Do you feel like your paintings, because they are romantic, do you feel that they sort of keep the original spirit of the Iditarod alive?
I hope so. Iditarod back in my day was we built fires. We stamped out our own dog trails because there were none. We didn't have straw. We cut spruce boughs. I only paint stories.
Although his brush strokes are not as fine as they once were, Jon is still a stickler for authenticity.
I don't paint anything that I have not physically done forever. I've been driving dogs for 50-some years. I know exactly what I'm doing and what I'm painting. You can take a photograph and paint that. Well, it doesn't really tell you emotion, doesn't tell you truth.
Truth in tiny details.
To be very honest with you, I like catching highlights. You see this on the ear? In all of this painting, there are probably 40 layers of transparent paint upon transparent paint.
A humble hairdryer, one of Jon's secrets. It dries up those many layers of paint quickly, which lets the light shine through and brings the magic of the trail to life. Take this poster of the northern lights near White Mountain.
The dogs would hear them before I would. You know, their ears would come forward. It's hard to describe. It's just kind of a whooshing, crackling kind of a sound.
When you're on the trail, you must have these wonderful moments.
Oh, hundreds of them. Yeah.
You get all these little sweet details. How do you do that?
Well, number one, I've had dogs all my life. My mom had kennels when I was a kid. I grew up with them.
And he grew up drawing. His mother was also an artist and gave him and his twin brother the same eye for detail. His brother lives in Hawaii, where he also tells stories with a paintbrush.
And this is this year's print.
So this is up on the Yukon, maybe?
Yeah, it's out of Ruby.
The storyline here, mushers leave the warmth of the village, but the dogs are excited.
He's stepping on the brake. And when you step on the brake, you get a little bit of rooster tail. This guy's looking at this guy.
To see how well rested his rival's team is. Sometimes Van Zyle departs from realism and journeys into the surreal, with montages like this one he calls Beyond the Unknown, based on a true experience on the Yukon.
As I got closer, I could hear talking and murmuring sounds. And then the closer I got, the louder it got, just like there was people there. Well, there was nobody there.
So this was just a hallucination?
Maybe. Maybe.
Tales of the Trail turned into tourist memorabilia, mugs, prints, and dozens of children's books that find their way into homes all over the world. Is it kind of like advertising for Alaska? I mean...
100%. 100%. I don't paint Iowa. I paint Alaska.
Is that the heart of it, your love of Alaska?
Yeah, I think so. Excuse me. Yeah, I think so. How about a bear?
Black bear, brown bear.
Brown.
Van Zyle has come a long way from the job that brought him to Anchorage, managing the store displays at Sears. Today, he and his wife, Jonna, who is also an artist, share a love for the state and its many native cultures.
Good people. And we appreciated the way they treated us.
20, 30 years from now, when people are sifting through your paintings, what do you want them to remember?
Old fart. No.
But at 75, Jon Van Zyle still paints at quite a pace.
These are the mean Jack London Huskies, you know, that kill people. And boop-a-doop.
Killing them softly, with love and joy. Jon Van Zyle also has a new book out, an autobiography, and it's all about his love for the dogs. And for Lance Mackey, it's that same bond that keeps him on the trail, no matter what.
The sport's been good to me. These dogs have been my motivation.
Up next, why Lance Mackey just can't quit. Plus, KTVA's Dave Goldman is here to give us his take on the race.
Here's Richie Deal of Iditarod 42 on his way to Nome. And true grit of the last great race.
Just because you studied weather doesn't make you an instant expert. All the stuff that you see in your weather textbook they have here. I'm having to go back and think of the stuff I learned in like Meteorology 101, because it's stuff you learn about, but most places you don't see it, but it all happens here.
I'm John Baker, and what I've learned on the Iditarod Trail is the importance of leadership. A good leader stands up when it's easier to quit. The easiest thing to do is to just give up and to not go after your dreams. But don't do it. I mean, every day is a new chance to try again, to try new things, to try harder. And you really don't need a title to be a good leader. You simply need to lead by example. If you dream and you try, you will win.
At Spinard Builder Supply, we know it takes a lot of ingredients to get it just right. That's why we have design centers in every store to personalize the most important rooms in your home. We'll help you select cabinets, faucets, and appliances that fit your style. So all you have to worry about is how much oregano goes in Mom's pasta sauce. Spinard Builder Supply. Building for life.
Now offering financing with no payments or interest for 12 months. Visit our design experts today at your local Spinard Builder Supply.
Air travel for Frontiers is provided by Pan Air. When business or recreation takes you anywhere across the state, Pan Air is there. The only family-owned airline serving Alaska. Pan Air, the spirit of Alaska.
She handed over all her money just to get away.
Are we really going to send them back?
These refugees do not fall under our jurisdiction.
You've cooked up a plan to bring a boatload of terrorists to our shores.
These people matter. and they're not going back.
A new Madam Secretary. Then, in the Good Wife's family,
Open the door.
there's no such thing as privacy.
We're in here. Oh, dear God.
A new Good Wife after Madam Secretary, CBS tonight.
A lot of the top Iditarod mushers run the Kuskokwim 300 to troubleshoot their team before the Iditarod. Now that's what Lance Mackey did earlier this year, one race that he's never won. Photojournalist John Thane followed Mackey from Bethel to Antioch and back.
The Kuskokwim River is nearly void of snow, and it's preparing to host 25 dog teams. But the question on many people's mind,
Bunch of mouthy boys.
would the most celebrated musher of them all, a 4-time Iditarod champion, be able to compete?
The main comment is, I thought you were retired. Well, believe me, I thought I was too.
You all remember Lance Mackey. A long battle with throat cancer and infection has taken its toll.
I had a moment last year during the Iditarod that most people have never seen the side of.
And it nearly convinced this icon of the sport to quit in Tanana.
I got here, I just decided I'm not going anywhere until I can take care of them right, you know? Yeah. So
40 below zero. His hands stopped working.
that's as far as I can bend that finger, you know? I mean, that's not normal. I can't feel them. I love this sport. I can't do it no more. Last year was probably the lowest moments mentally that I've ever had.
Two teams coming up side by side.
With the help of his brother, Jason, they finished the remainder of this 1,000-mile race together. Could this be the last time we see Lance Mackey at the finish line?
You feel like this is your last race, it's your last finish line here?
I never say never. I think everybody in this sport has said at one time or another, and probably several times, that I was going to retire and I'm done, and I'm too young to retire. Look at them. This is one sexy-ass dog team right here. They're big, they're strong, they're fast, they're mouthy.
His dogs are ready. His body, ready or not.
That was where all that infection was coming out, and it went around the side of it. It blew the tip of my finger off, basically. Boy, yeah, even that little bit of exposure to the cold like that.
Cancer, frostbite, infection, and determination.
Number 21 from Antioch.
Raven, line up.
Putting booties on 12 dogs will take more time.
2 hand warmers inside each glove makes it a little more difficult. I've never been real fast at this anyway.
His sled has a little more weight.
I've got more hand warmers than usual. I got a windsuit. I got some really good fur garments. I got an extra pair of bunny boots.
And there goes Lance. And right behind him, Ken Anderson. Boots number 15 and 16.
For the next 200 miles, Lance leads for part of the way. But in Kalskag, difficult trail conditions have worn out his team.
How you doing, little lady? Oh, yeah, it's a shoulder. The polished ice is one thing, but we haven't done any kind of that. They're sliding all over the place, you know, like I said, there ain't no snow to grab for moisture.
The only option?
I'll go find you guys some blankets.
Is a long rest.
I'm not going to ever win a race at the expense of my team.
While Pete Kaiser crosses the finish line and earns the $25,000 purse, Lance Mackey slides across glare ice, gaining something even more valuable.
I now have a leader that listens to everything I say and goes exactly where I want him to go. Unfortunately, he thinks his name is No, damn it.
The Kusko 300 will not be a win for this team. but they're taking the lessons learned on the Iditarod. For Frontiers, I'm Jon Thane.
Lance Mackey finished 17th in the Cusco 300 this year. So what does that mean for the Iditarod? Well, you can follow him on KTVA Channel 11, your official Iditarod station. And joining us now is KTVA Sports Director Dave Goldman. And before you hit the trail, we want to get your take on the race.
Thank you. The warmest will be for the next week and a half. Good stuff.
Boy,
Can't
Lance
wait.
Mackey.
Oh, you said it, soundbite a minute. I mean, you know, here's a guy who you saw in the piece, his hands are basically falling off. He's in tears. He's had enough. And then he turns around and comes back. But he's a champion. Remember, this is the guy who won this thing 4 straight times and did it with the Yukon Quest. So he's also a brilliant musher as well. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of soap opera. But at the heart of it, the guy knows how to run dogs and get from Anchorage to Nome.
And it seems like he's got that magical connection with the dogs. You know, through it all,
Yeah.
it seems to sustain him.
And somehow exactly, it's as much for Lance as it is for the animals. You'd think he needs this, you know. And I think there are some mushers who this is what they need, this is what they do, and for him.
So what does he have to do this year? You think? I mean, you don't expect him to be in the top 10, do you?
No, I don't think so. Considering his physical situation too, he's not in the greatest shape you can see there. But the animals too. Some of these dogs are the dogs that he had for Rondi in Anchorage last couple of years, and he ran that race and did well. He said so he likes this team. He told that Thursday night to us that he likes this group and feels like if things go well and things are all right on the trail, he feels like he can make a move. Will he win it? I doubt it.
You know, sometimes it's not so much the front runners, you know, personally, that I find as much interest in is those people that have tremendous stories. Yeah, and boy, it seems like there are a lot of people with a lot of emotional baggage on the trail, and of course none more than Martin Boozer, whose son was injured terribly in an accident, and that's kind of absorbed him in the lead up to the race.
Martin, after last year, wasn't going to run the race. Then he was, then he's coming back. Then in late January, the accident with Nikolai, and it was as severe as it gets. It nearly took his son's life. By all rights, he shouldn't be with us, but thank goodness he is. He's rehabilitating. It's going to take a while. But when we talked to Martin on Thursday, he sounded more like a parent than a musher. He's back in the race, which is great because he's great for the sport, another 4-time champ and a great guy to have out there. But I wonder how therapeutic this race is going to be for him when he gets out on the trail. You know, you got a long way to think and a lot of time to just be out there by yourself. And I wonder what this will be for him as he goes through, and whoever it is he needs to thank that his boy is still with us.
You know, Dee Dee Johnroe, Jan Steeves, Mary Hillwig, and Scott Smith, you know, they lost their homes in the Sockeye fire, and yet, you know, they could have sat it out. Everybody would have said fine. Why do they do that?
This is what they do. I think that's, you know, we've asked that of mushers, and sometimes they don't have this eloquent answer. This is what mushers do. It's like you say, they come back. It's like boxers. It's the same way with Lance Mackey in that piece. He comes back. Why? Because that's what boxers do. They got to come back. This is the fix. This is the drive. Even Martin, he said, I couldn't stay away. Now that things he knows are settled, they had to be back there. And again, people who've lost everything with the fire, and somehow they're trying to scratch it together and piece this and get that and get 1,000 miles with a dog team. Amazing.
Well, from health troubles to losing your home, there's also Karin Hendrickson.
Yeah. Another one, nearly killed in an accident, didn't run last year, a back injury, and she's going to run with pain this year for sure. And to add to that, has to make a living outside of this. So the video you're seeing here is at night, and you can see not a lot of snow because it's too warm during the day to run, and it's too warm for the dogs. So she's got to train these dogs at night, and that's the only time that she can do it. So this is somebody who really wants to do this at 2 o'clock in the morning, and here she is out running with her team.
Yeah, I don't see how somebody could do this race and maintain a day job. Well, you know, another one that we should talk about is Dallas and Mitch Seavey. I mean, they're kind of the royals of the race currently right now.
Yeah, you go
Which will it be?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, you go from the storylines and things like Jan Steeves losing her son and still running this race, and Martin and the near-death experience with his son, to the actual sport of it and who can win it. Dallas is the guy to beat. You got to give that to him right now. He is the royalty as far as the man to beat. Could this be 3 in a row and 4 out of 5? He's got the right team right now. He's in that zone. He seems locked in. But remember, his dad Mitch is right there on his tail. So it very well could have been him. It's been the Seavies now for almost the whole decade, and Dallas has really owned it. If he wins this one, if it's not already a dynasty, 3 in a row and 4 out of 5, that's a dynasty in any sport.
Well, let's take a look at some Iditarod victory stats. You know, we've got Rick Swenson there at the top of the heap with 5 races that everybody is always striving for, and then some other mushers that are in this year's race that have 4 victories. They want to break into the 5 club. What do you think?
It's exclusive, obviously. Martin, look, given where he's been the last week and a half, or last month and a half, I think just finishing for Martin will be good enough. Jeff is the guy I think you look at. That's the circle guy who might have it, because, again, Jeff has been still hovering right there, near misses a couple of years ago, and again, last year was right in the race, too. And, of course, Dallas trying to get to 4 so that he can have the bullseye on Swenson. Again, we see this, is that don't count anybody in or out, because Iditarod is a sport, and when you think of your favorite sport, whether it's Iditarod or football or baseball or basketball, never crown the champion. That's why they play the game, as Yogi said, or that's why they run the race, because funny things happen, and it's not just about how good you are and how good your team is. You then have to deal with this other factor, the elements, and do the dogs feel like running, and do you get snowed in, or does something bad happen, or does the tie line go? So there's all these funny things.
Who are some of the ones to watch this year that could surprise us?
Well, I don't know if it would be a surprise, although for Allie, given the fact that she seems to be right there as that front runner, and seemingly in second place, she's right there in there. I think King, Pete Kaiser, we were talking about, he's an up and comer
from Bethel.
Yeah, Wade Mars is another one who's on the way up. Dallas and Mitch for sure, certainly as well. And maybe one of the Norwegians, you know, Olsen perhaps has also had a couple of good runs too. Robert Sorley, we can't forget about him. He's 58, and this may be his last race. There's a 2-time champion for you. So you never know where it's going to come from, but usually it's like a golf tournament. You start out, you got 140 golfers, they start things out, and then it whittles itself quickly, and the cream rises to the top. So ultimately, it's the CVs, it's Jeff King, it's Allie, it's Pete Kaiser, it's Wade Mars. It's a lot of these names that we're used to seeing.
Well, trail conditions favor certain mushers depending on what they are. And what about this year's race? What kind of a race will it be with what we've got now?
Yeah,
it could change.
Surprise, surprise, everybody. If you're watching in the Anchorage area, there's actually snow out on the trail, and it's actually in great shape. The Dalzell Gorge will be the color of this, not the color of this, thankfully, which is great. So the snow's not a problem. Ultimately, you know, if the trail doesn't get beat down too badly, it's the best team. And I think really it's the best team that wins, and that's why you see these certain teams keep finding their way up to the top.
Well, good luck on the trail. Stay out of trouble and have a good time if you can.
Thank you. Thanks for having me in.
Yeah, thank you, Dave.
Take care, Rhonda.
Dave Goldman. The Arctic Winter Games, a gathering of the North in the name of friendship and celebration. A report from New Greenland up next.
We have a story of 27 families that put 18 months of their lives into building a village, a home for themselves and their future. Our Inupiaq culture goes back thousands of years, carried by a strong sense of community. Our relationship with our natural surroundings is at the heart of our culture. By investing in future generations through development that is balanced with the love of our land, the Koopa Corporation brings together traditions of the past with visions of the future.
I just want cremation.
No hidden costs, no add-ons.
Cremation is much more affordable.
Dignified, ecological.
I just want something basic. The simpler, the better.
Cremation sure makes a lot of sense. The Cremation Society of Alaska is now serving families in Anchorage and in the Valley, and we are always on the web at alaskacremation.com. Call us today at 277-2777 or in the Valley 373-8627.
We taught him how to hit a baseball, how to hit a receiver, the strike zone, the net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Congratulations to KTVA 11 News, winners of 9 Goldie Awards from the Alaska Broadcasters Association. KTVA is there when news happens, from this summer's devastating Sockeye fire to investigative research honored for groundbreaking coverage of Alaska sports. From Seward to Nome, delivered by Alaska's finest sportscaster. And recognized for creating new frontiers, KTVA 11 News is there when news happens. Be there.
The Arctic Winter Games began with this vision for athletes from across the north to come together and build a bond. Heather Hinsey is in Nuuk, Greenland, where the excitement has been building.
It's been a big waiting game for the athletes after weather delayed their arrival into Nuuk, but now they're here and they're ready for the games to begin. Organizers in Nuuk breathed a sigh of relief as the first plane touched down at the airport. More than 30 flights were scheduled Sunday to make up for the weather delay that kept hundreds of athletes from reaching the capital.
Hi guys! We're glad you made it! Yay, Team Alaska!
Team Alaska athletes were some of the first to arrive after a 36-hour layover in Kangerlussuaq.
Sean's inside with your badges, guys.
Oh, sweet.
We'll see you later. Flight 1. Done.
It was a quick turnover at the airport with planes coming in every half hour.
We really won't be able to kind of rest and relax and enjoy the start of the games until everybody is here. So yeah, dude. We're excited to see plane 1 and looking forward to the rest of them.
Inside the terminal, athletes received a warm welcome from volunteers, happy to see the team starting to filter in.
Right now we've got basketball and badminton. We have 70 in right now, 70 in. And 2 chaperones, and we have about 220 more to go.
It was a long journey to get here, but now the kids are ready to go.
It's really cool because we get to see different things and it feels like home all over again.
They're excited to not only compete, but share their culture and community with athletes from around the world.
It is more of an experience and a learning experience more than anything because it's nice to play like where you're from, but if you go out and do it, you're going to develop your skills and you get better at what you do, and I appreciate it more because it's more like, oh, I'm doing something I love and I was recognized for it.
They won't have much time to get settled in before the competition, but the kids are just happy to be here in time for the Arctic Winter Games. Events begin Monday morning. Futsal is up first with games beginning at 7:30. For Frontiers, I'm Heather Hinsey in Nuuk, Greenland.
KTVA Channel 11 will bring you coverage of the games throughout the week, also online. You can go to ktva.com. Next week, we revisit the Sockeye wildfire. It's been almost 9 months since dozens of families lost their homes. Justin and Jamie High among them. They had just rebuilt their house after another fire 6 months earlier. Then came a new baby. Well, we followed the High family throughout it all, and now they're in their new home, a new chapter in a story with lessons that we can all learn from. Whether it's competition or simply life itself, we always have frontiers to tackle. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.